I'm sure these young scullers now will be lining themselves up. They'll be having a little look across the course, looking at their opposition, preparing themselves. They'll soon all get themselves straight and ready. They'll get their blades loaded into the water, so they're ready to go as soon as the starter calls the race. And they'll start it with an attention and a beep, and there'll be a change of colour on like a traffic light system. So it's all very, very exciting down at the start, but there's this very cool, relaxed, calm feeling, and now they are off, and it's not cool and relaxed and calm now, it's frantic and it's fierce as they try and get themselves out and down the course as quickly as they possibly can. And as we join the camera and see the next shot, you can really see how quickly these young scullers are moving now in the boat. And they're trying not to affect the run of the boat, they're trying to get the boat moving as quickly as possible.
Yes, these Junior 18 quads will be probably one of the fastest events we've got here today. We don't have any 8s racing in minor finals today. I think these boys Junior 18 quads will be some of the fastest you get, and slight contrast to when you get 8s going off the start, when you've got all the coxes shouting and it's really loud and noisy. In a quads race, slightly different because there's no coxes in these crews, but they're still moving really, really quick. You've got 8 oars in each of those boats, so you're getting up to a really, really high speed, but it'll be the responsibility of one of the athletes in the crew to be making the calls to the other 3 rowers in the boat, which can be pretty tough to concentrate on your own rowing whilst also to sort of keep enough energy and enough sort of brain focus to make the calls and command your crew. You can see there the Gloucester Rowing Club on the right hand side of the screen just going out of shot. A really good performance so far, and then Magdalen School now on the right of your screen, and Thames Rowing Club on the left. Thames Rowing Club with such a fantastic history in senior rowing, based out of Putney on the Tideway on the famous boat race course. Haven't always had a incredibly strong junior program, so good to see their quad racing well here as they go through the 500 metre marker, about a canvas up on the field. And it was Magdalen School and Gloucester Hartpury who were in 2nd and 3rd positions, pretty much neck and neck, and it's Gorse Boat Club in lane number 2, the only crew that's a little bit off the pace. So you can see there those top 3 crews only separated by 0.6 of a second, 146.9 for Thames and 147.5 for Gloucester Hartpury. So we've got a really good race set up here as we go into the middle 1,000 metres.
And the strokes per minute don't really seem to have settled down in this race. Well, I don't know what your thoughts are at the moment, but we really seem to have kept the rating up, particularly the crew from Thames. They've kept their rating quite high in the early stages of this race, not seem to have settled down yet, and that seems to be working to their advantage. But it's all to play for. Very, very close racing in this Open Junior 18 Coxless Quad C final.
Yes, that Thames crew just racing a little bit higher than the Magdalen School crew. I've had 35 there for the Thames crew and 32 for Magdalen, but Thames may be looking a little bit scrappier. When we had that camera that was showing from behind, you just see the blade work maybe not quite as neat, but that higher rating is, I think, resulting in a bit higher boat speed. They're coming up towards 1,000 metres now, as we mentioned, much faster moving crews, so they're going through this 2,000 metres a little bit quicker than we've seen in some of the smaller boat categories. Coming up towards 1,000 metres now, and I think Thames, who only had that slender advantage, have pushed on over Magdalen, but it's Gloucester actually in lane number 1 who've really pushed out in front.
Yeah, Gloucester put a huge push in that second 500 metres, and that's a really impressive charge that they've made on towards the Thames quad, and that's gonna sort of rattle the Thames scullers slightly in the second half of this race. And it'll be interesting. There's quite a big distance between them and their opposition across the lake. So have they seen that charge that Gloucester have made? That's going to be the question, isn't it?
You're seeing some of the wildlife on the course, having to take a bit of evasive action to avoid the charging Gloucester quad as it comes down the course. Gloucester Rowing Club got a fantastic setup with their links with Gloucester Hartpury College, and there are of course a start programme as well where athletes wanting to be talent ID'd onto the sort of a fast track towards the Great Britain senior team train out of there under the head coach Will King. They've performed really well in both boys and girls sculling over the last few years. Lots of wins at Henley Royal Regatta, especially in the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup for girls coxless quads, and this quad is putting in a really fantastic performance here. We can now see the Thames Rowing Club crew in lane number 4. They were in the lead going through 500, but they've dropped into second place, and they're going to have to do something to keep up with Gloucester.
Absolutely, and it's that length and power of Gloucester now that's really helping them make their way out in front of their opposition from Thames. But Thames aren't dropping that rate. They're keeping the power on. They're keeping themselves moving. They're staying with, or trying to stay with, their opposition from Gloucester.
Yeah, just through 500 metres to go, but Gloucester Hartpury have moved out to, I think, over a length's lead. They've got 6 seconds now on Thames Rowing Club. You can't quite see them in our screen because they're a bit closer to the camera. We had Thames going through in second, Magdalen in third, and it'll be Gorse coming through in 4th position in this C final of the Open Junior 18 coxless quads. So Gloucester really laying down the hammer in that middle 1,000 metres. Not the fastest start, but they kept that rhythm really, really strong and moved through Thames and Magdalen, who maybe had a fast start but didn't quite have the race rhythm to hold on to the speed.
Yeah, and that's quite a mature thing to do, to just stay on your race plan, just keep working at it, just keep the legs driving, and have the confidence that the plan that you've put together is the plan that's going to work. And sometimes that can be quite challenging when a crew goes off in front. But it's now Gloucester that we can see the bottom right of your screen coming into view now, charging along, just placing the blades together, hanging off the handle for as long as they can, and just making the most of the length and the power that they're showing in the final stages of this race.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with the pacing of this Gloucester crew. Very impressive to just understand your own boat speed, know what you are capable of doing, and they're into the red buoys, which signify 100 metres to go here at the National Water Sports Centre, and Gloucester are going to move away from the field and cross the line in first position in this C final of the Open Junior 18 coxless quads. Thames Rowing Club, who were the early leaders, they're going to cross the line in second position, just ahead of Magdalen School, and then it will be Gorse Boat Club to come through in 4th.
And as Gorse cross over the line, we can go down to the next race that's in progress and past the 150 metre mark. It's going to be a race in the Junior 15 Open Junior 15 double sculls between in lane 1 St Andrew Boat Club, lane 2 York City Rowing Club, lane 3 Marlow Rowing Club, lane 4 Avon County Rowing Club, lane 5 Hexham Rowing Club, and in lane 6 Yarm School.
It's fantastic looking at that start list there to see crews from a really wide variety of locations across the UK. And the benefits of these smaller boat classes is that it allows maybe slightly smaller clubs that don't have a big junior squad or not a huge amount of depth to have crews that can still perform well at events like the British Rowing Junior Championships by entering the smaller boat classes. And we can see as we come up towards 500 metres gone, it is over on the far side, furthest away from the camera in lane 6. I think Yarm School with a small advantage, but it's very tight there between 3 crews, Yarm, Hexham and Avon County, all well out in front of the rest of the field.
Absolutely, Will, and these young scullers will develop and mature in their racing, but they'll also remember the rowers that they've raced against and probably form very good friendships. They're used to seeing some of these scullers out on the rowing circuit, and this national event brings everybody together, as you're saying, from around the country, and it's really special to see these junior scullers putting in some quite impressive performances here this afternoon.
Yes, especially if you're from a smaller club and you raced a lot of the regional regattas that would have taken place over the last few months in the run-up to events like National Schools Regatta, and then here at the British Rowing Junior Championships. You often find yourself competing against a lot of the same athletes week in, week out. Maybe one week they beat you by half a length, then the next week you can reset and beat them. And it's a great sense of camaraderie, as you say, but also friendly rivalry, as you get to race a lot of the same crews throughout the season and try and pip them if they've taken the win from you at one race.
Yeah, let's have a little look now and see what's happening out on the course. And it looks to me that it's lane 6, the double from Yarm School, that have a slight advantage in the at this stage of the race. So we're 1,000 metres, coming into the 1,000 metre mark, so halfway. It's very close actually for the first, second and third positions. I'm sure the coaches cycling along the bank will be looking on, and it's just as nerve-wracking for the coaches very often as it is for the young people that are out on the lake, putting in the performance of the season. The coach is just looking on there, cycling along the bank. Great thing about rowing is you can cycle very often along the whole of the course. And this is stroke for stroke in this D final.
Yeah, this is really, really tight here. It's only about a canvas separating all three crews. Hexham and Yarm School absolutely barrel for barrel, and then Avon County maybe just about half a canvas behind, but really not much separating it with 1,000 metres to go. They're going to have to treat that first 1,000 metres as right, that's out of the way. We can't think about too much about what's gone on there. We've got to, how are we going to execute our race plan for the second 1,000 metres? And these crews would have probably had a rough idea of what their race plan was going to be going into the race. But that's you've got to be ready to adapt that based off the conditions you find yourself in. If the crew next to you starts to make a move and they're moving away, it's all very well knowing that you're planning on doing a push in 500 metres time, but if they're making a move, you've just got to be ready to go now, because your opposition aren't going to wait for you. They're not going to politely wait for you to do your push in response. If they see an opportunity, they'll just go.
And this is developing very much into a northeast and western battle. So we've got, as Will was saying earlier, we've got Yarm, Hexham and Avon County all in contention for the first, second and third place of this D final. And we've spoken a lot already today about this setting the sort of national rankings for these events. And that's exactly what's happening here. And there's a real battle on. But it looks to me now that it's Hexham and Yarm that are battling out. Maybe even Hexham have just pushed it on in that third 500 metres and mounting a charge that's putting them in front of their opposition from Yarm.
Yeah, it's been a really good third 500 metres for Hexham and the two northern crews, in particular Hexham, who row on the River Wear from west of Newcastle, and Yarm School row on the River Tees. Hexham just pushing out to about a half-length lead in that third 500 metres. Some people call that third 500 the moving 500. I know the GB men's sculling squad at the moment, they've got a real penchant for pushing in that third 500 metres, and that's where they try and steal a march on the rest of the field. And Hexham have taken a leaf out of Paul Stannard's squad's book there, and they have now got a lead of over a second from Yarm and Avon.
And I would say Avon County have done something quite impressive as well in that third 500. They've really closed that gap on Yarm School, who were leading in the early stages of this race. They're less than a second. So it's Avon County, if they can keep that boat speed moving and they can keep moving on as they've done in the third 500 as they come into the closing stage of this race, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. But I think, Will, saying that, it's the the Hexham crew that still lead. Looks like they've been followed by Yarm, and then Avon County out in third at the moment.
Yeah, still nothing decided. I've just realised I said Hexham Road on the River Wear. Of course, is the River Tyne. Getting my northeastern rivers mixed up. So my apologies to the Hexham Rowing Club crew there. They're into the last 200 metres now, trying to extend that gap over Yarm to their left and Avon to their right. You've got to really empty the tank here in the last 150 odd metres. You can see the Yarm School crew at the top of the screen trying to close down the gap, but Hexham do still have an advantage. Be interested to see where Avon County are, the crew in lane number 4. Have they been able to close the gap on Yarm to try and push up into second position, or have the two northern crews moved away with this? Avon's still in the fight, but I think Yarm School had a bit of an advantage there for second place in this D final of the Open Junior 15 double sculls. Hexham crossed the line in the lead, then very tight for second. It looked as though it may have been Yarm just ahead of Avon County, but we'll have to wait for the official umpire's verdicts. And then very tight at the rest of the field, but for 4th, 5th and 6th, I think it was Marlow Rowing Club who crossed in 4th, but then it'll be a photo finish between St Andrew Boat Club in 1 and York City in 2. Very tight between those two crews.
There were almost 2 races in that D final, and it was fantastic to watch on. But as we take ourselves back down towards the start of the course, we can see the next race coming into view. That's race number 156, a C final of the Open Junior 15 double sculls between lane 1, Dart Totnes Amateur Rowing Club, lane 2, Monmouth Comprehensive School, lane 3, Wallingford Rowing Club, lane 4, Aberdeen Schools Rowing Association, lane 5, Kings Ely, and lane 6, Peterborough.
Yes, and it was those crews in the higher lanes over on the far side, furthest away from the camera, that are again out in front here. It was Peterborough leading over Kings Ely, with Aberdeen Schools sitting in third position, but not a huge amount separating the crews, probably only about half length or so between each crew. And we saw in the last race that things can really move on in the middle 1,000 metres. Hexham chose that third 500 to make their move on the field. Will we see any crew in the second 500 metres between 500 metres gone and the kilometre halfway marker? Will we see any of those 3 crews at the front, Asra, Kings Ely and Peterborough, make a move on the rest of the field?
And as the day draws to a conclusion here at the National Watersports Centre, it's certainly not letting the races become less exciting. We've had some really close races in the last couple of races that we've seen here today, and it's still shaping up to be some fantastic sculling from these young junior scullers in this F final of the Open Junior 15 double sculls.
Yes, we've got a slightly more spread out field here in this C final compared to the D final that we just witnessed. You can see the Aberdeen Schools crew in the middle of the shot now. I think they're currently sitting in third position. Kings Ely on the left of the screen, they're in second, and I think Peterborough just hidden off to the left of the screen over in lane number 6. They are currently out in front. There we can see Peterborough and Kings Ely. It's a good race between those two crews, though, less than a length separating them as they go through 1,000 metres.
Yeah, and Kings Ely really holding their body position as they push with their legs. They're really staying connected to what's happening in the water. So they've got their blades in the water, and they're really just holding that body position as they drive their legs down and propel their boat and try and hang their body weight off their blades for as long as possible. Great sculling from Kings Ely. Their program's really developed over the last few years, I would say, and it's nice to see that they're putting in some good performances in this on this national stage.
Yes, and also Dart Totnes in lane number 1, closest to the camera. They weren't too far off the Aberdeen Schools Rowing Association in that battle for third, less than a second separating those two crews. So Aberdeen Schools have got a fight on their hands if they want to maintain their third position. But Kings Ely, they were about half a length down on Peterborough going through the 500. They were about half a length down on Peterborough going through the kilometre. can they use that third 500 to try and close that margin down, or will the Peterborough crew be able to move away?
Yeah, so Peterborough are used to rowing on a multi-lane course. Their club is based on a purpose-built rowing lake just outside the city of Peterborough. So they're going to be used to some of the conditions that they're facing here today. Ely on the Ouse at Ely, on the same stretch of water that the Cambridge University Boat Club, or the new Cambridge University Boat Club, is based. Again, quite a wide expanse of water there. I think they've got a 5,000 metre straight, so they're going to be used to these more exposed conditions. But like you say, Will, it's Peterborough that are just holding on to their lead over their opposition from King's School Ely. This is an Eastern Region battle at the moment that's taking place.
There really isn't much separating the two, and I think Kings Ely have shrunken Peterborough's lead down to less than a canvas. It's just 0.8 of a second separating them with 500 metres to go. Dart Totnes have rowed through Aberdeen Schools in that battle for third position. They now lead by a second over the Scottish crew. So we've got two great races going on here, one for first and second, one for third and fourth. We've then got Monmouth Comprehensive in fifth, and Wallingford will be the last crew, or I'm not sure we've actually got them present here on the course. Yeah, two great races lined up for the last 500 metres. Peterborough and Kings Ely fighting for first and second. Dart Totnes and Aberdeen Schools fighting for third and fourth.
Absolutely, well, and as we look down from the finish towards the crews that are mounting their final charge towards the finish line, we can see it's going to be very, very close between Peterborough City. It's going to be stroke for stroke between Peterborough City and King's School Ely. We can see the puddles just disappearing away from the hull of the boats as they place their blade and just push it away. It's everything to play for. This really is racing at its best.
It really is. I think Peterborough have raised their rating to a little bit higher than the Kings Ely crew, and I think Peterborough are looking a little bit cleaner whilst doing it. They're still getting their blades out the water quite neatly around the finish, whereas you can see the Kings Ely crew displacing a little bit of water from their puddles as they extract the spoons from the water at the finish. And yes, Peterborough's sprint, they kept something in the bag. They were just holding that slender advantage through 500s, and they've lit the blue touch paper and moved away to a length lead, crossing the line in first position in the C final of the Open Junior 15 doubles. We'll see who comes out on top in that battle for third, and it is Aberdeen Schools who cross ahead of Dart Totnes in that battle for third. Great response from Azra to row back through the Dart Totnes crew, and then it's Monmouth Comprehensive who crossed the line in fifth.
And as we look back down the course, the next race is well and truly underway. This a D final in the Women's Junior 16 double sculls between Warrington Rowing Club, lane 1, Clares Court, lane 2, Lee Rowing Club, lane 3, Peterborough again, we saw a Peterborough crew earlier, but Peterborough in this race in lane 4, the B crew. Then we've got Shanklin in lane 5 and Gloucester Rowing Club completing this field in lane 6.
Yes, they're just coming up towards the 500 metre marker, and we've got the crews in 4 and 6 fighting out here. It's Peterborough just ahead of Gloucester Rowing Club, with Shanklin Sandown sitting in third position, and then very tight for the other three positions, lanes 1, 2 and 3, pretty much stroke for stroke between Warrington, Clares Court and Lee Rowing Club. So we saw Peterborough in that last race in the boys Junior 15 doubles. We've seen some very strong sculling from Gloucester in some of the other events. We had that strong performance from their quad in the Open Junior 18 Coxless Quads C final just a few races ago. So two clubs with established sculling pedigrees performed well here today, came with big squads, and they're fighting it out in this D final of the Women's Junior 16 doubles.
And that's a beautiful silhouette of the crews as they disappear away from the 500 metre mark and head down towards the halfway position. And as they approach that halfway position in this D final of the women's junior 16 double sculls, it would appear that the Shanklin Sandown crew are doing a pretty good job in that lane on the far side of the course. We've seen a lot of good performances across there today, but it's been equally spread all the way through. It looks to me that they're just holding on to a bit of a lead over their opposition. As we've said earlier today, it's always all to play for, especially in these smaller boats where they do accelerate and decelerate pretty rapidly. There's not a lot to move along, and these scullers doing a good job as they come into halfway. But it's Gloucester on the far side of the course that appear to have a lead over the rest of the field. So it's going to be a race, I think, for first and second wheel between Gloucester and Shanklin Sandown at the moment.
Yes, Gloucester right up there. I think it's their Peterborough crew actually in lane number 4 in that battle with Gloucester. Shanklin in the blue in third position, just a little bit off, but Peterborough and Gloucester, a great battle there for first and second. It's about 2/3 of a length in favour of Peterborough at the moment as they go through the 1,000 metre marker. I like how the Peterborough crew, they almost look like they're sort of rowing on top, sort of riding on top of the boat. They're not letting their weight drop down into the shell at any point. If you let your weight drop down, the whole boat can sort of drop in the water, and it's a really, really quick way to lose speed. So Peterborough maintaining that boat speed throughout the stroke, not letting any of their effort go to waste. And that's showing now as they've got a 2-second lead over Gloucester with less than half of the course to go.
Yeah, and just proving again that maybe that multi-lane experience is quite important in these races, and it's, there aren't many of these courses around the country. It's a real opportunity for these young people to race against 5 other crews in these 6-boat finals. And it's now Peterborough, as you say, Will, quite correctly, they're looking out down the course and seeing what's going on, and they'll be able to respond as they need to Gloucester, who are probably their closest rivals in this D final just at the moment. And as they come into view of the 1,500 metre marker, they're just staying there. They're just pushing things along. They're just keeping things moving. And I'm sure they're going to be thinking, what are we going to do in the last 500 metres that's going to make this really special and just open up that lead over our opposition?
Yes, and you mentioned how useful it can be getting practice of rowing side by side with another crew. I think there can also be a lot said for the experience of rowing along a buoyed course and how you can maintain a dead straight course, not having to worry too much about getting too close to the buoys on either side, because a straight course is fast, but also if you drift across and hit the buoys, that's when you can get into real trouble if you catch a crab. And the Peterborough doing a good job of avoiding any such disasters so far. We can see the Shanklin Sandown crew there currently in third position. Gloucester have gone through that 500 metres to go marker. They've extended their lead over Peterborough. That's now almost 5 seconds with 500 metres to go. Shanklin Sandown go through about 2 lengths behind that race. Although, actually, looking at that camera shot there, I think Gloucester, yes, it's Gloucester who rode through Peterborough. My apologies. The crew from the southwest, Gloucester, have rode through Peterborough in that third 500 metres. Completely missed that, I'm afraid. A great performance there from the Gloucester Rowing Club crew, and they've now got a comfortable advantage over Peterborough with 500 metres to go.
Yeah, it's just as we were saying earlier, isn't it, Will? It's very easy for the rowers to miss what's going on the course because you get sucked into your own race, and very often, particularly on some of these tighter shots, it's difficult to see what's going on. But on that nice wide angle that we can see now, we can see the Gloucester double have established a lead over their opposition from Peterborough. We've got this great view from the top of the National Water Sports Centre here in Nottingham, which has played host to some fantastic racing and some really magnificent displays of young junior rowing. So we've got Gloucester, who lead at the moment, followed by Peterborough, followed by Shanklin Sandown. This is fantastic junior sculling.
What an amazing second half from this Gloucester crew. They've just absolutely exploded from that 1,000-metre marker. They had overturned a deficit from the kilometre and overtaken Peterborough by the time they got to 500 metres to go. And then they weren't content with that lead. They've just absolutely gone in this last 500 metres and left Peterborough behind them. Shanklin Sandown have moved up closer to the Peterborough crew. I'm not sure they're going to have enough space left on the course to get up into second position, but a good performance from them. Into the last 50 metres or so though for Gloucester Rowing Club over in lane number 6, and they are going to cross the line in first position in the women's junior 16 double sculls D final, and crossing the line in second it will be our early leaders Peterborough Rowing Club B, with Shanklin Sandown coming through in third.
And as this race draws to its conclusion, this women's junior 16 double sculls D final, we've got the final crews just crossing the line now there, and we're going to head back down the course to see the next race that's coming down, and I think that's going to be a women's junior 16 double sculls C final.
Yeah, so just 3 races left to go today. That C final of the women's junior 16 double sculls already through 500 metres. We've got another 6 crews competing in this event. We've got Peterborough A in 1, Newark Rowing Club in 2, Marlow Rowing Club in 3, Reading Rowing Club in 4, Camas Rowing Club B in lane 5, and Abingdon Rowing Club in lane number 6. They're coming up towards the 1,000-metre marker now in this women's junior 16 double sculls. It's interesting to see another Peterborough Rowing Club crew here. They've really packed some of these sculling events. Good to see them showing up in force here at the British Rowing Junior Championships.
So just having a little look down the race order now. Camas have done a good job in the early stages of the race. It would appear that their opposition from Reading Rowing Club have done the same. It looks like Reading just have a lead over Camas at the moment. And as the camera pans out, we can start to see some of the other crews that are heading down the track. But it looks to me that it's the crew from Abingdon that lead overall at this point as they come through the halfway stages of this race. We've seen the green visors of Abingdon up and down the course quite a lot today in the time trials. They've had quite a large entry. This club from Oxfordshire. It's going to be quite a nice race developing here, Will.
Yeah, Abingdon Rowing Club have moved out to a nice margin, but closer to the camera in lane number 2, Newark Rowing Club are currently riding in second position here, just over Reading Rowing Club and some of these other crews in the middle and far side of the course. So strong performance from Newark, one of the more local crews competing here at the British Rowing Junior Championships, not too far from the National Water Sports Centre. Abingdon Rowing Club though in the distinctive green and yellow kit in lane number 6, moving away from the field. What a great shot there, seeing all 6 junior women's doubles on the course. Not much separating this whole field. Another example of how we get these tight races in these events with deeper entry fields in some of these minor finals where the crews will not have been separated by much on time at all. But it's Abingdon Rowing Club with an advantage as they're coming up towards 500 metres to go.
Absolutely, Will, and we'll be having semi-finals and finals of the events that you've seen today, tomorrow here at the British Rowing Junior Championships. So we'll be back here again tomorrow. but it's Abingdon just having a little look across now to see what they've got to do in order to stay in front of their opposition from Newark. A good look around from the young sculler sat in the bow of the Abingdon boat over in lane 6 on the far side of this course from the finish tower. Really smart, strong sculling from these Abingdon scullers. And I'm sure they'll be quite pleased with the position they're in at the moment. It's 1,500 metres gone, so they're going to be starting to feel quite tired now. It's going to be who can hang on to it. It's Abingdon that still lead in this C final, closely followed by Newark. This is really exciting racing. We've got just a second between the crew in lane number 5, which is the Camus crew.
Yeah, an excellent looking race developing here between Newark and Camus. There's the Abingdon Rowing Club sculler sitting at bow, was taking a look over her right shoulder pretty much every stroke. I'm not sure if that was to check steering or to see where some of the other crews were, or just checking how far down the course they were. Maybe not advisable to be taking that many looks out the boat. It's always okay to have a little glance to make sure you know what's going on, but you don't want to lose the focus on your own rowing technique and moving with your partner, and when you focus too much on some of those external factors. But I don't think it's affecting them too much, as Abingdon are still out in front. Tight race for second place between Camus Rowing Club's B crew in lane number 5 and Newark Rowing Club in lane number 2. We'll see how that develops into the last 250 metres. We can see Abingdon Rowing Club in the centre of the shot there in that top right hand picture, accelerating away into the last 200 now. We can also see in the bottom left our penultimate race of the day, the Women's Junior 18 Double Sculls D final has already kicked off, so we'll be picking up with that race very soon as this C final of the Women's Junior 16 Double Sculls has come to its conclusion. But at the front, it's Abingdon Rowing Club still in the lead.
And the Abingdon crew are going to be coming into sight of the finish now. They're going to be coming up to that finish line that's going to appear on your screen in just a few moments' time, so we can see them go across. It's Abingdon Rowing Club, as you've been hearing from Will there, crossing the line ahead of their opposition. It's quite a race on now for that second position. It looks like Newark are just going to hold on to it, and they do. The next crew coming across the line, that's the crew from Camus, who we've seen battle along the course with Newark, closely followed by their opposition from Marlow, and then followed by a Reading. So that's a fantastic race coming into its conclusions. The rowers will be thinking now, we've been rowing for just over 9 minutes, and they'll be feeling quite tired as they cross the line. But it's the final crew in this race crossing the line now, as we go to the next race.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our penultimate race of the day here at the Saturday of the British Rowing Junior Championships 2019, and that is the D final of the Women's Junior 18 Double Sculls, race number 159. So another 6 crews contesting this event. We've got Molesey Boat Club in lane number 1, Strathclyde Park in 2, Eton Excelsior in 3, Durham School in 4, Evesham Rowing Club in lane number 5, and Peterborough in lane number 6. And it was Evesham Rowing Club who went through that 500 metre marker with the advantage over the field.
And we're just looking at the crews now disappearing away from the 500 metre mark, and now approaching the 1,000 metre mark. So as we've been saying, the 500, getting out to 500 metres is just about getting to that point, getting settled into that race rhythm, and then starting to push on to the halfway point. It's interesting, we've seen quite a lot of different strategies with racing already this afternoon, and we've seen some crews really settle into that rhythm early on. We've seen some crews keep on the rate and just keep everything moving along, and sometimes that not working out to their advantage. But again, it's the crew on the far side there from the finish tower. It's the crew from Evesham that are doing a really quite a good job now of just getting their bows out in front of the the other crews looking back on the field and being in quite a controlling position in the first half of this race.
Yes, interesting as well. I'm not sure. We've got the Peterborough crew in lane number 6 in this race. So Evesham don't have probably what would have been one of their biggest competitors, who would have beaten them in the time trial, contesting this D final of the women's junior 18 double sculls, going up to 1,000 metres gone, and it is Evesham who have a lead of over a length at the front of the field. They've got a lead of 6 seconds. In fact, I'm just waiting to see who is currently riding in second position here in the women's junior 18 double sculls D final. As the sun goes low over the National Water Sports Centre, casting some beautiful, beautiful silhouettes over the crews, making it a little bit harder to identify them. I think it's Eton Excelsior in lane number 3, sitting in second position.
Absolutely, Will. It is that Eton Excelsior crew that have maintained that second position against their opposition from Evesham. It's going to be interesting to see how this race develops. We've not seen all the crews yet in our view through our position here in the commentary area, but it's Evesham at the moment that hold on to that lead. Eton Excelsior appear to be having a bit of a challenge put on them from their opposition from Strathclyde Park, I would say. Yeah, it's quite an exciting, again, quite a close race, just developing, all to play for in the closing 500 metres, I would say.
Yes, and Strathclyde Park, definitely a crew that would have experience rowing in similar conditions to this on a 2,000 metre buoyed course. They were up at Strathclyde Park. It was on just south of Glasgow, sandwiched in between Hamilton and Motherwell. It's hosted these British Rowing Junior Championships in years prior, and indeed hosted the British Rowing Masters Championships just a few weeks ago. We can see there a great zoomed in shot of the Evesham Rowing Club crew in lane number 5, looking really silky smooth together, coming up towards 500 metres to go.
And Evesham will be a bit shocked by this expanse of water in straight lines. They're used to a slightly windier piece of water on the River Avon. But it's doesn't seem to be phasing at the moment. They're keeping themselves well and truly in the middle of their lane. Closely followed by Eton Excelsior. Then their opposition from Strathclyde, as we were saying. And then the Durham School crew, closely followed by their opposition from Molesey Boat Club.
But really not much separating those 4 crews from 2nd through 5th. It was Eton Excelsior with a small advantage, but not much in favour of them at all. Strathclyde Park in 2nd will be looking to close that down. Durham School over in lane 4, so they'd have had a stronger time trial than a couple of these crews, but maybe not quite showing that same speed here in side by side. A great last 500 metres we've got lined up here in the D final of the women's junior 18 doubles.
And now it's going to be power, power, power all the way in the last 500 metres of this 2,000 metre buoyed course here at the National Water Sports Centre. And we really have got some beautiful skies, the backdrop of this exciting women's junior 18 double sculls D final. Turning out to be a beautiful evening after the 4 seasons of weather that we've had this afternoon here in Nottingham.
Yeah, it really has been all 4 seasons in one day. I've been quite glad to have been keeps up in a commentary box for some of it. Sometimes you feel a little bit jealous not being out in the sunshine, but I wasn't complaining earlier today when it was lashing it down with rain. But our attention must go back to this Evesham Rowing Club crew that have put on such a fantastic performance here. They are out in front of this D final of the women's junior 18 doubles. I'm going to see down at the start of the C final, I think there's been a false start in the C final, so those crews are backing it down back onto the state boats. They'll have another go at starting their race, but back to the finish line, and it's Evesham Rowing Club who are going to cross the line first, but who is going to come out on top? It's Strathclyde Park, who have rode through Eton Excelsior. Strathclyde Park, great performance from them. They're going to cross the line in second position ahead of Eton Excelsior, with Molesey in fourth position, and then Durham School down in fifth. Great last 500 there from Strathclyde Park to row through the Eton Excelsior crew.
Absolutely, Will, and that really a great race for the Evesham crew. I'm sure there'll be some very proud coaches that have been on looking onto that race. The false start that we saw just a few moments ago will mean that we'll be able to join the start, and we're back down at the start now for this next race. That's going to be a C final of the Women's Junior 18 double sculls, and that between in lane 1 Marlow Rowing Club, lane 2 Stratford upon Avon Boat Club, lane 3 Tyne Rowing Club, lane 4 Worcester Rowing Club, lane 5 Camford School, and lane 6 King's School Ely. And they are off in this, the final race of the day, here on the second day of the British Rowing Junior Championships. And we join the action side on in just a few moments' time as the umpiring launch gets into position, so they can make sure that the racing is safe and fair here on this 2,000 metre course. And it's pretty furious down there at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a slightly reduced field here in this event. I think I can only count 3 of the 6 crews. We got Kings Ely, Canford, and Stratford upon Avon, I believe. No, sorry, Tyne. So the crews in lanes that should have been in lanes 3, 5, and 6, competing in this C final of the Women's Junior 18 double. So not sure what's happened to the remainder of those crews, but we've got 3 crews here who'll still be fighting it all the way down to the line to finish off today's racing here at the National Water Sports Centre. You can see those 3 crews just rowing off into the distance. They'll soon be coming up towards the 500 metre marker. We can see the umpires launch at the back there. He'll be keeping an eye on those crews, making sure they don't waver into anyone else's lane, but also responsible for the safety of those crews as well as they go down the course. I'm sure these experienced Junior 18 crews won't have any difficulties though. You can see Kings Ely now in our shot, over in lane number 6, looking really good, coming up towards that 500 metre marker.
Absolutely, well, and as the King's School leader comes towards the 500 metre, great opportunity to thank you to all of the amazing volunteers who make this event possible. And if you're watching the YouTube coverage, and you're interested in supporting rowing, then head to the British Rowing website to find out more about all of the volunteering opportunities across all of the British Rowing events.
Yeah, a massive thank you to all of the volunteers who've helped make this event run so smoothly so far today. Going through 500 metres is King's School Ely, who had a small advantage over Canford. Tyne Rowing Club just a little bit off the pace, about a length and a half away from those 2 leading crews. It's Kings Ely and Canford fighting it out at the front of this C final of the Women's Junior 18 doubles.
How long you been living in this country for?
And as the day starts to wind down, these crews start to keep everything wound up, and they're going to be just thinking about pushing on now. Less crews than we thought were going to be taking part in this C final, but the quality is there nonetheless, and it's great to see the crews disappearing away from the 500 metre position as they approach the 1,000 metre marker. We'll have a little view of them approaching that 500 metre marker in just a few moments, and here they are. We can see, it looks to me that it's Kings Ely that maintain a lead over their opposition from Camford, closely followed by their opposition from Worcester, but it's quite a stagger now, this race. It's Kings Ely that have taken it out. They lead over their opposition, as I was saying, and they're just going to be thinking, right, what have we got to do now to stay where we are, just keep fending off our opposition and just keep those strokes moving along.
Yeah, so coming up towards that 1,000 metre marker, we'll get a really good benchmark of how close these two crews are. I don't think Canford have let Kingsealy completely snap the elastic yet, though. I think Kingsealy do have a small advantage over Canford. Got the crew in light blue from Kingsealy and dark blue from Canford. It's about half a length separating them, and then it's Tyne Rowing Club currently sitting in third position. I think that margin even less than half length. Actually, I think Canford are, as we speak, moving, and I think they are moving through the crew from King's School Ely.
And they're getting really good boat speed there, Will. I think exactly as you've said, they've put on a little bit of a charge and they've just pressed their legs down a bit hard. They're trying to hold on to everything as they keep the boat moving along there. And that's really worked to their advantage. It looks to me that Kingsealy are having to work just a little bit harder to get that boat speed. But like you say, it's Canford that have started to draw past their opponents from Kingsealy there.
Yeah, there was a really noticeable change in boat speed coming up towards the 1,000 metres, and I think that must have been a call made from within the crew, whether it was planned or not. They saw an opportunity to make a move on Kingsealy, and I think it's had a really strong effect. Hoping I won't be proven wrong, as I have been in some of the other races, and we'll actually see Kingsealy well out in front with 500 metres to go. But I think that Canford School crew looking a little bit better. There'll have to be a response from Kingsealy as they have seen that move from Canford. What have they got to respond? Can they make a move to hold Canford and then maybe push back against them? As we come up towards 500 metres to go, those two crews are still very, very tight together. Canford, they have drawn up level, if not only slightly past Kingsealy, but not much separating them at all with 500 metres to go, and we're in for a great finish to our last race of the day here.
Absolutely, Will, and this really is going to be a great finish. I think Canford, if anything, have just shortened up very slightly. It looks to be a little less comfortable than it was when they were at the 1,000 metre mark. That's close as they go through that timing marker.
It's absolutely neck and neck. Just 0.2 of a second in favour of Canford on our official timing.
Yeah, it's Canford that have definitely gone through that.
And it's just been swapped over there to Kingsealy, in fact, in front on the official timing marker. But that's pretty much just on the surge of the boat there. I think those two crews are pretty much dead level. I think
that's stroke for stroke.
Kingsealy must have made a good response to that Peterborough move. Sorry, the Canford move, going through the 1,000 metre marker.
Yeah, it's going to be who can make the next move, though, isn't it? We've had that move. Now it's going to be about who can hold their own, who can keep it together, which crew can keep their cool, and who can really put the power on in this final 500 metres.
Yeah, you've got to be able to deliver punches to the opposing crew, but you've also got to be able to receive them. You can make your own moves, but if you can't respond, but another crew tries to make an attack against you, you're going to really struggle. And both of these crews have done a great job of doing that all the way down the course here. We can see Kingsealy now in lane number 6, Canford now in lane number 5 in the darker blue. Who is going to have more left in the tank with 200 metres to go here in the last race of the day of the British Rowing Junior Championships?
I wouldn't want to call that, Will. That's looking very, very close. It's all to play for. It's going to be stroke for stroke now. And if you're supporting these crews at home, I'm sure you're looking at your screen and really willing them on now in this final stage of the Women's Junior 18 Double Scull C final.
There's really nothing in it. I think Kingsealy maybe looking a little bit neater. The Canford crew, though, applying a bit more power. You can just see as those bodies come through from the Canford crew, really leaving it through. And I think Canford have taken an advantage now over Kingsealy with just a few strokes to go. We go to our finish camera, and the dark blue of Canford moving away. In those last few strokes, they extended that advantage and they crossed the line about 2/3 of a length ahead of King's School Ely. A great race there to finish off the Saturday of the British Rowing Junior Championships and our last minor final. See those two crews really moved away from Tyne Rowing Club in the second half of the race there. That battle between the two of them sort of just sucked them away from the Tyne crew, so concerned with just wanting to go 1 mile an hour faster than the crew next to you.
Absolutely, and there's a little look across, and congratulations to the King's School Ely crew for a great race here at the British Rowing Junior Championships 2019. And as the crews cross the line and the umpiring notch crosses the line, that signals the final race of the day, and indeed a end to proceedings here at Nottingham at the National Water Sports Centre. All it leaves us to say is thank you for joining us, and we look forward to being again tomorrow for semi-finals and finals that will decide who are winners in the British Rowing Junior Championships 2019.